Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down the Lucifer Volume 6, Mansions of the Silence. In the last story arc, Lucifer won a duel in hell with Amenadiel, and then after that, wrapped up, Lucifer visited Loki to get his ship, the Naglfar. And in this volume we will see what journey this Naglfar ship is going to go on. I should also mention this is the halfway point of Lucifer. This is Volume 6, and there are 11 volumes total, so we are slowly making our way through it. I also want to let you guys know that I will be off next weekend. I have a lot of things I have to do, but I will be back the week after with Volume 7. Alright, let's dive into it. Lucifer, Volume 6. Lucifer, Volume 6, Mansions of the Silence. Written by Mike Carey. Art by Peter Gross, Ryan Kelly, Dean Ormston, and David Hahn. This volume will cover Lucifer issues 36 through 41. Lucifer, 36. Naglfar, Part 1 of 5. The Muster. In the previous story arc, Lucifer consulted with Loki, who sent him to his brother, Bergelmir, to retrieve the Norse ship called Naglfar. Naglfar is a ship made from the nails of the dead. It is foretold to sail during Ragnarok, carrying the dead and monsters to the final battle against the gods. Well, what does Lucifer want with this ship? Well, he wants to travel to a place called the Mansions of the Silence, and he wants to restore Elaine Belloc's life force. As Elaine saved Lucifer's life when Lucifer was dying thanks to that whole tainted feathers in his wings thing caused by the Japanese gods. One problem is, though, Lucifer cannot go himself, for his power would destroy the mansions. Thus, he is forbidden. So instead, Lucifer had to recruit a crew filled with his former affiliates, both friends and enemies. And this crew would have a very small chance of all returning alive. So, the crew of the Naglfar will be Mazikeen. She is very loyal to Lucifer and will always do what he wishes. Bergelmir is going. Lucifer felt that since Bergelmir tried to kill him, Bergelmir owed Lucifer a service. Then there is Cal, the failed half-breed angel brother of Elaine Belloc. He is going because he wishes to return his sister to life. There is David Easterman, the sort of father but not actually of Elaine Belloc, who, even though he was murdered by the angel Sandalphon, now persists on Earth as a ghost, and his paternal love for Elaine is a rock in which he clings to. There is Jill Presto. She was recently the vessel for the Basinos, the living tarot cards, and now she begrudgingly carries their child. She also carries the mark of their anger in the form of her crippled arm that is missing. Under the Basinos' protection, no harm can come to her until her pregnancy reaches its term. And then there was also Gaudium and his sister, Spira. Gaudium is a fallen cherub angel who took a liking to Elaine. Also aboard the ship is Irishad's baby. Lucifer promised Irishad's mother the baby's death, which he still has to deliver on. So the crew, they all assemble on the ship, and they are preparing to depart. Bergelmir has some sort of giant twig monsters as the oarsmen of the ship. The crew all get acquainted with one another, and then Lucifer arrives to do one last check-in on the crew and give them a motivational speech to head them out. Lucifer, he gives Mazikeen the bead that is Elaine's grandmother's. He tells Mazikeen that it will act like a compass and point right to Elaine. Gaudium adds, it'll also curse and argue with itself a lot, but you tune that out after a while. Lucifer then addresses the crew, saying, I chose most of you for a reason, and it was usually the same reason. I thought you had some slender chance of coming back, but the mansions are an unforgiving place. You'll have to rise above your individual hatreds and mistrusts, otherwise you'll die. Or else you'll live and come back unsuccessful, in which case I'll kill most of you anyway. Good luck. Lucifer, he then gets off the ship. Bergelmere sarcastically says to Cal, "He gives an inspirational speech, doesn't he?" "I'm joking, lad, I'm joking." Bergelmere then turns to Mazikeen. "Permission to take her out, Captain?" Mazikeen answers, "Yes, do it." Bergelmere then yells to the twig giants, "Now row, you bastards, row! The wind won't wait forever." And then the twig giants begin rowing. One thing strange about the Naglfar ship is that it doesn't float on water, it floats in the air. It is a sky ship. So the Naglfar begins sailing away into the sky. But then the giants that were protecting the boat for the last 1,000 years, they seem to protest the boat leaving, and they begin chucking huge boulders at it. Lucifer, he swoops down and uses his firepower to blast them all with flames, some of which spill onto the Naglfar, kicking off the journey with some early excitement. The flames have to be put out, but they soon are, and the Naglfar sails on, and its journey continues. Lucifer issue 37, Naglfar, part 2 of 5, The Voyage Out. On the Naglfar ship, Mazikeen gives David Easterman some more orders. He is to interact with the bead of Elaine's grandmothers and wake them up, a function apparently only he is able to do. David, he is concerned because he's not actually fully clear what he's supposed to do, but he tries to interact with the bead, and then soon enough Elaine's grandmothers spurt out of it, and they address the crew. They say, "What can we long-dead ladies do for the devil's handmaiden?" Mazikeen replies, "You can tell me where Elaine Belloc is, if you know." The grandmothers answer, "Where our Elaine is? She died, Poppet, in giving your lord his life back. So we owe him no favors at all." Mazikeen responds, but he owes one to her and he decided to pay. The grandmothers reply sarcastically, "Aye, out of pure love, no doubt, and not because of any schemes that still include her. Ah, her spirit lies ahead of you, a long ways away, and off to port. Speak to us again when you're closer to. And in the meantime, we'll think about whether or not to trust you." Later on, as they continue sailing onwards, Bergelmere speaks with Jill Presto. Bergelmere is giving off a vibe as he is interested in Jill Presto and perhaps wants to get with her. They talk about various things. Bergelmere notices that Jill and Mazikeen have been trading dirty glances at one another. Jill answers, "Yeah, Mazikeen wants to kill me. Only there's something inside me keeping me safe. She has to wait until I ditch it, which is why I'm here. I just wish I knew where the hell here is." Bergelmere then explains, "You're familiar with heaven and hell, are you not?" Jill answers, "I heard of them." Bergelmere continues, "Excellent places, both. But essentially, if you pardon the banality of the metaphor, two faces of the same coin. And God flicks the coin and bids each spirit choose. Chains or cherubim, will you, nill you? But then there are the irreconcilable dead, those that say no to both, and other souls for whom hell and heaven offer no fitting harbor. The edge of the coin, sweeting, that is where we sail." While the Naglfar continues its journey, we see Lucifer in Berlin visiting his brother, Michael. Michael is pleased that Lucifer has sent others on a mission to recover his daughter Elaine, but still, Michael thinks Lucifer is dancing around him in this conversation and not being direct. Lucifer says he wants Michael to state his position. Michael explains, "I stand where I always have stood. I will not fight against our father, and I will not help you become him." This pisses Lucifer off and he slaps Michael in the face. Michael to this says, "Brother, do not tempt me to anger. There is the safety of this world to consider." Lucifer responds to Michael, "I want you to be angry. He gave us power as great as his own, and then when he was done with the world making, he forbade us to use it. He lied to me. He tried to exile me from the face of creation, and he engineered the death of your daughter." Michael believes their father has a plan, Lucifer to this says. Has he? He never shared it with any of us. We have taken it on trust since the time before time. But you still have faith in it? The great plan? Michael responds, yes, completely. Lucifer responds, because I know a place where we can go and see it, if you're interested. So Lucifer seems to be offering Michael a chance to see God's great plan. And Michael, he contemplates. We jump back now to the Naglfar ship. Cal and Gaudium are given orders from Mazikeen. They are to fly on ahead of the ship and scout what is ahead of them. So as Cal and Gaudium are flying up ahead, they see a whole bunch of mirrors. Mirrors, but they're as big as mountains. They're not quite so sure what to make of it. Gaudium, he then looks at the ground and says, this place is kind of weird. I mean, is that rock or some kind of plant fiber or... Oh shit. Gaudium, he then sees what appears to be the spirits of slaughtered angels. And they start flying right at them. So Cal and Gaudium, they then book it back to the ship. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Berglamir is building something for Jill. Spira asks what it is. Berglamir answers, it's a gift. More of a practical sort, but let it be a secret until it's done. Spira answers, oh, that's so like you, that compassion for someone so hideously crippled. Of course, you do know she's pregnant, right? Before the conversation can continue, Gaudium returns to the ship with a whole bunch of spirits of slaughtered angels trailing them behind. The spirits attack the ship like a swarm. Mazikeen and the others with their weapons swing back at the swarm and try to fend them off. And then a whole bunch of those large mirrors that they spot earlier start falling from the sky, falling on the ship. Some of the crewmen start having strange memories implanted in their head. Memories of an alternate reality. David Easterman, he has memories of himself being a successful lawyer and raising Elaine as a real father and caring for her. When David sees these memories now, he is very confused what is happening. Some of the others have alternate memories as well. Very soon after that, and all of the angel swarms that were attacking them, all of them begin dying and dropping dead. This confuses Mazikeen and her crew. They comment, they're dying. I thought they were going to attack us. Berglamir, he says, do not feel that light bleeding into your mind? This is a suicide attack. Berglamir appears to be the only one that is understanding what is going on. He begins casting magic to knock the other members of the crew unconscious, and for those that his magic does not work on, he whacks them in the back of the head with a giant mallet. Finally, he knocks himself out, and when he wakes up, Mazikeen has a sword to his throat. She asks him what the hell was he doing and why should she not kill him? Berglamir answers, because we are still alive, Captain. Now there's a reason that springs to mind. You felt the force of those memories from those angels, from those mirrors, those lives into your mind, the tidal pull of them whipping our minds into froth and tatters? I believe that the mirrors contained other universes, other creations, rejected ones perhaps, and that those winged monsters flew in close to them in order to wake them, to coax them open. Each universe, as it unfolded, exerted a pull on our minds and our souls. The tension between those pulls would ultimately have proved fatal. I thought unconsciousness might negate, or at least slow, the effect. Spira and Gaudium, trying to understand this, say, so you saved us all? By whacking our skulls with timber? Great plan. Berglamir answers, well, I used a cantrip first, but some of you weren't susceptible. I thought the timber was an inspired improvisation. A little gratitude would seem to be appropriate. So Berglamir appeared to actually save everyone from the weird magic attack that they just went through. Afterwards, Berglamir tells Mazikeen, I usurped your command. I beg your pardon for it. Mazikeen responds, you did what was necessary, what worked. But now we've got a crewman lost and an enemy whose face we haven't even seen. I think there's worse to come. The crewman lost Mazikeen is referring to is Cal, who never managed to make his way back to the ship. They don't know if he is dead or missing. And then we see one of the chunks of mirror is on the ship, and we see an arm reaching out of it. Lucifer, issue 38. Naglfar, part 3 of 5. The Wrack. Elsewhere, somewhere in hell, in a place called the Pavilion of Lanterns, we see a skinny, creepy-looking character. This character is apparently the dead Tsukiyomi, whom was killed in the House of Windowless Rooms story arc. His appearance is definitely creepier now than before. Tsukiyomi appears to have the spirit of Elaine Belloc with him, as well as Elaine's friend, Mona Doyle. And he appears to have formed Elaine into a lantern, which he hangs from a tree like a decoration. So with that tease now of the final destination of where the Naglfar is headed, we now return back to the ship. On the Naglfar ship, the failed half-angel, Cal, returns. Only this Cal is different than the one before. This Cal is a version from one of the mirrors, one of the alternate reality Cals. This Cal seems a little bit more confident. He doesn't speak with a stammer. When he returns to the ship, Gaudium says to him, "Hey kid, glad you made it." Cal, though, seems confused. When Gaudium presses that Cal was missing, Cal responds, "Stop trying to confuse me, you wind-blown piece of shit. I was here all the time." After this confrontation, Gaudium and his sister Spira talk and discuss how different Cal seems. Well, the journey of the Naglfar continues. Bergelmir gives Jill Presto the gift he was making for her, some sort of magically crafted hand to replace Jill's missing one. When Jill puts the hand on, it works. Jill loves the gift. She says to Bergelmir, "Jesus, Curly, I can't think of anything to say, anything to do. This is just too wonderful." Spira, who is jealous of the blossoming romance between Bergelmir and Jill Presto, mumbles to herself, "I bet you'll come up with something, you scissor-legged slut. And Curly is my pet name for him." Elsewhere, those angelic dead spirits that attacked the Naglfar earlier, well, they have the real Cal with them, and they are questioning him. They tell Cal, "We are the angelic dead, the remnants of the force that fought in heaven when the Morningstar rebelled. We are your cousins. Embrace us and be one with us." Cal, scared, says, "Please, it's my sister. We're looking for the ghost of my sister." Back on the Naglfar ship, Bergelmir and Jill Presto are below deck, getting it on. Jill Presto is thanking Bergelmir for the gift he gave her earlier. Well, Bergelmir is a genius when it comes to smithing. His true vocation lies with the lovemaking, which pleases Jill Presto greatly. Back above deck, the alternate reality version of Cal sees something up ahead, a gigantic wall of thorns that seems to stretch on forever as the ship is forced to stop. The angelic dead spirits return and fly towards the Naglfar. They carry with them a sack, and they drop the sack on the ship. Mazikeen and the others open the sack, and inside is the angel Cal, who seems dead. This is the original version of Cal. The mirror version of Cal on the ship, a little confused, says, "That's absurd." Before Mazikeen and her crew can make sense of this, the angelic dead return with a full-fledged attack once again. The spirits are equipped with torches, and they set the ship aflame. Mazikeen and the others fight some of them back, but eventually the ship crashes headfirst into a mirror wall. Meanwhile, while all of this is going on, Lucifer and Michael travel. Along the way, they run into Zemet, whom we met briefly in issue 33, the Bearing Gifts story arc. Lucifer and Michael then travel to the working place of Scoria. to the machine he built, where he was capturing the thoughts of God. Lucifer tells this Zemet to watch over them, while Lucifer and Michael descend into the water and finally learn the truth of their father's plans. Once in the water, they become utterly consumed by God's mind, and they begin to sink into the darkest recesses of his mind. And then God's voice breaks through, and God says to Lucifer and Michael, the pity of it. Do not think I am unmoved, my sons. I have lived these lives again and again. I have endured these futile quests and escalating sacrifices, the turmoil that drowns out love and hope and meaning, until the heart stops and the last breath dies in the last dry throat. It is a tragedy, all of it, but the patterns persist too, persist and repeat themselves. Infinity answers infinity, like mirrors facing each other across a narrow hallway. I have made well. I made best when I made you. Now come into the light, where I can see you both. Lucifer, issue 39. Naglfar, part 4 of 5. The Deep. God continues speaking with Lucifer and Michael. He continues, Michael, spark that expands forever, ocean of power with no shore. And Lucifer, my sweet savage Lucifer, who brings the light where I have told it to shine. How I love you, my sons, how I swell with pride for you. You must not try to speak or to move. Speech and action are alike impossible, and there is nothing to say or do in any case. The ship has miscarried, and your daughter, Michael, the only cause in creation that could have made you and your brother act in concert, she hangs in the pavilion of the lanterns, set there to be both worm and hook. The thrones are cast down, and the dominions humbled. The keys turn in the hearts of men and angels. All things stand as I determined in the morning of the worlds, for you are the king of contrivance and manipulation, my Lucifer, but in that, as in all things, you have learned from your father. We'll return to God's pontificating later. For now, we jump back to the Naglfar. The ship has crashed and has finally touched down on the surface, and the crew have sustained various injuries. When Jill Presto comes through and wakes up, she sees a boy in front of her. Only it's a little bit odd. The boy is blurry looking. Jill asks the boy, "Who are you?" The boy answers, "A friend. My name is Icon." Elsewhere in the wreckage of the ship, David Easterman appears to no longer be a ghost, and he has taken solid form. And the spirits of Elaine's grandmothers have also taken solid form. Bergelmere explains, "It's the nature of this place. Spirit has form here, and form has substance." It turns out the crew have finally arrived at the Mansions of the Silence. The boy, Icon, he speaks and says, "I'm Icon. I saw what happened and I came to help you." We will soon learn that this Icon is the offspring of the Bassinos and Jill Presto. Even though it hasn't been born, it is able to manifest flesh here in the Mansions of the Silence. At this point, though, Jill and the others are not fully sure who this Icon is. The new and alive version of Cal is sitting above his old, alternate reality dead self, and he says, "I'm not real. I'm not me." Mazikeen talks to him and says, "You came from this shard of mirror, from one of the other creations." Cal answers, "I think so, yes. I was drawn here. I don't know why." Mazikeen responds, "Probably because our own Cal was missing." Cal there responds, "And now he's dead, so what am I?" Mazikeen responds, "What are you? I'll tell you. You're a crewman and I need you, so pull yourself together." Elsewhere among the ruins of the ship, Bergelmere has sustained injuries. He needs to rest a while. Jill talks with him. Jill expresses how she was disappointed they couldn't finish what they started earlier when they were making out. Bergelmere laughs and says, "Ha! You see, sweetling, I'm as sly as my brother Loki. When you've found Elaine, you must come back to me, or else go unsatisfied." Jill and Bergelmere kiss, and then Jill walks on, as this Icon follows her. Mazikeen, Jill, and the others, they start to walk. Mazikeen points out into the distance and says, "We head that way, with the fire at our backs. It's the line the Naglfar was on when she fell. Bergelmir is going to stay by the ship with the giant twigs. When the fire dies, those angelic dead spirits will try and follow Mazikeen and the others, but they'll check the wreckage first. Bergelmir says he'll try to hold them off as long as he can." The crew of the Naglfar continue their journey on foot. They walk for many miles. At some point on the journey, Jill and Icon talk. Jill, annoyed with the boy, asks, "Listen, well, what is this? You're hanging around me like body odor. Do I know you?" Icon responds, "You've never seen my face, but you will know me. In the fullness of time, you are to be my mother." Jill, finally realizing who the boy is, says, "Oh, Jesus." Icon explains, "Do not recoil from me. The magic of this place has sheathed me in flesh. But we are one soul, mother." Jill, really weirded out, says, "Get the hell away from me. Look, I was raped by a deck of frickin' tarot cards. I came here to get rid of you. You think you can melt my heart by calling me Mom?" Icon responds, "But you are my life now, and I am yours. I breathe your breath. I feed on your heartbeat. You cannot kill me. We are bound in a union none can break." The journey continues on. At one point, Mazikeen stops, and she removes a jar and she opens the jar. Inside is that Irishad's baby. Mazikeen releases it into the area. She tells it, "Walk on, get as far away from me as you can. Lucifer said he would release you into death. Well, this is the house of the dead, and you are free." Irishad's baby then grows vast, the size of a building, and it expands out into the horizon. The crew of the Naglfar then continue on their journey again, and they eventually arrive at the Pavilion of Lanterns, where Tsukuyomi is waiting for them, with Elaine Belloc as well as other souls. Tsukuyomi addresses the crew saying, "My greetings to you, travelers. What is it that you seek?" Mazikeen replies, "The spirit of a human child." Tsukuyomi continues, "There are many thousands of spirits here. I use them for decorations, as you can see. To find one among so many would be hard." Mazikeen asks, "Do you object to our looking?" Tsukuyomi answers, "Oh yes, Mazikeen, daughter of Ophir." Tsukuyomi objects most strenuously. Mazikeen questions, "You intend to stand in the way of our search?" Tsukuyomi answers, "I am determined on it. It was the project I set myself once I accepted the fact of my death. In the ordinary way of things, gods pass gently and without pain into non-existence. But Lucifer had disposal of my fate, and since he denied me that peace, it seemed fitting to deny him something in return. The link between her spirit and his is very strong. I knew that he would search for her. Not in his own person, of course. He cannot come here. But he would send proxies, and I would frustrate them as many times as I could." Mazikeen, growing annoyed, stabs Tsukuyomi with her sword and says, "Well, you're dead already. At least this will come as no surprise." Tsukuyomi has the sword stuck in his chest, but he seems perfectly fine. He tells Mazikeen, "I should have warned you, daughter of Ophir. All things in my garden have been fashioned by my hands. I took especial care with the laws of causality. I knew you were coming, so again I have been very clever and artful, but it is not so poignant. Pain is my medium, as perhaps you guessed. You're all most welcome here." It seems that somehow, even though Mazikeen stabbed Tsukuyomi in his chest, these so-called laws of causality caused Mazikeen to sprout a wound in her own chest, almost like she caused it herself. Elsewhere, we jump back to Lucifer and Michael talking to God. God, he continues speaking and says, "First of all, my sons, you should know this, that I did not need you. The first flower of light could have been born without a seed. I had played it through 1,000 times, I knew its growth and decay to a nicety, and there was no need for a weaver to spin the light into suns. It was pregnant already with the forms which it would become. But I had to teach you your skills, and there was no other school. Then came the host and the Silver City, and if they were needed, it was only because I had created you. How would you look upon yourselves if you had no peers, no context for your actions, no mirrors in which to gaze? And how could you head or head off a rebellion if there were none to follow your banners? There is a reason for everything I do. I abhor waste. Yes, Michael, the rebellion was the point, but you were so slow to anger, so reluctant even to question that I almost despaired. While Lucifer has squandered eternity in trying to escape from the plan, which of course foresaw everything he did, until now. You see, my children? It is a bubble of glass that I blew, and the closure makes it perfect. But there are two ways to close the circle of eternity, and the only uncertain thing in all the frozen colonnades of certainty down which I have stared for so long, the only matter on which there has ever been the smallest molecule of doubt, has been which of the two I would finally choose. Now you know. So let me paraphrase what God is saying. God is basically telling Lucifer and Michael that the rebellion, their obedience, and their existence itself was never necessary to the creation of the universe, but were orchestrated as part of their education. The host and the Silver City exist so Lucifer and Michael could learn, even through their defiance. Every action, their obedience, rebellion, and despair, has its place in his plan. The only mystery now is God's choice of which of the two of them he would choose. Michael, he finally exits the pool of God's thoughts. And he does not seem happy. He's pissed. When the demon Zemet tries to talk to him, Michael yells, "Do not touch me, demon! Do not address me!" All my life I have obeyed him, and for that I have his pity? I must be tormented and harried into following Lucifer's example. Well, it is enough. Michael then takes off and flies away. Lucifer, he then exits the pool of God's thoughts. He just comments, self-satisfied to himself, "There, I wanted to be sure I hadn't missed anything." Lucifer issue 40, Naglfar, part 5 of 5. The conclusion. Full Fathom 5. David Easterman yells at Tsukiyomi, "Where's my daughter? What have you done with her?" Tsukiyomi responds, "You never had a daughter, only the illusion of one, and now you will lose even that, David." Cal then rushes Tsukiyomi and yells, You're dead! You're a dead man!" Tsukiyomi to this says, "No, I have explained this. I am a dead god, and this is my heaven." Joe Presto, she then joins in on the action and clocks Tsukiyomi in his face. But he just magics her away, saying, "You are disrespectful, Joe Presto, but you are also irrelevant." Icon, defending his mother, says, "Not to me," as he tries to get into the way of the magical beam hitting Jill. We jump away, up to the Silver City. Michael has arrived. He wants to speak with God. Before, he only heard God's thoughts in that pool, but now he wants to hear it from the man himself. Some of the angels attempt to stop Michael from going further. They tell him, "We have our orders. Nobody enters the presence without your father's summons. Not even you." Michael responds, "Then be at peace. You die in fulfillment of your duty." That was my ambition once. I have learned hard lessons since. Michael then kills the two angels that block his path, and he continues walking up the steps to where God is. Michael, he then thinks to himself, "I used to believe in the rules God made, but I also found a kind of joy in obedience itself, as though obedience were a sacrament. I never knew what my brother Lucifer knew, the invisible fissure of doubt that opens a vista onto new certainties, the faint whispering of questions that stir up the dust of ages. But I am changed, and I welcome the change. I have seen the light. Back to Tsukuyomi in the Pavilion of Lanterns. Icon continues to try and defend Jill, but Tsukuyomi with his powers manages to light Icon aflame. Tsukuyomi then grabs Jill and Cal. He says to them, "Have no fear, art will transform you into something meaningful." He appears to have plans to turn them into lanterns as well. Back up in heaven, Michael continues walking up the staircase to where God is, and angels continue to try and stop him. They plead with him saying, "Michael, please, think of what you're doing. The entire host will rally to this place. You will condemn them to death because while they are alive, they will defend the throne and the presence." Michael tells the angel, "I have no wish to kill any of you, but I intend to speak with my father." One of the other angels there yells out, "Michael, stay your hand. There's no need for this. Look." His door stands open. All of a sudden, the door at the top of the stairs where God is ajar. So Michael, he continues ascending the staircase. Elsewhere, we see Lucifer is on his way to the mansions of the silence, on his way to the Pavilion of Lanterns. He is questioning some of the dead angel spirits that attacked the Naglfar earlier. Over at the Pavilion of Lanterns, Mazakine is still bleeding out on the ground while Tsukuyomi is creating more lanterns. Lucifer, he continues flying. He comes across the abandoned Naglfar ship. He sees Berglamir all bloodied. He has been hammered into the ship. Lucifer goes to speak with him. Berglamir says, "Good morrow to you, Lucifer Morningstar. You find me at something of a disadvantage." Lucifer responds, "I can see that, Berglamir. I don't have time to cut you down. This is going to hurt." Berglamir to this says, "Lay on. It would be demeaning to die where no woman could weep on my grave." Lucifer grabs the anchor of the ship and flies, dragging the ship behind him. Finally, Lucifer arrives at the Pavilion of Lanterns, and he has brought the Naglfar with him. Tsukuyomi doesn't even get any offense in on Lucifer when Lucifer arrives. Lucifer just smashes right through him with the Naglfar ship, and with that, Tsukuyomi is off the board. When Jill Presto sees Lucifer has arrived here, she questions, "Oh, it's you, but I thought you couldn't come here." Lucifer answers, "The rules of engagement have changed." Lucifer then pulls out a jar, the one that Irishad's baby was in earlier, it appears like. Lucifer then says, "Come to me, Elaine Belloc, now." And the spirit of Elaine that was turned into a lantern begins to fly towards Lucifer, and she appears to be dragging the spirit of her friend, Mona Doyle, with her. Elaine and Mona then manifest as spirits inside the jar. Lucifer, he then seals it. Lucifer then turns to the others and says, "Berglamir is already on board. Come now if you're coming at all." So Jill Presto and the other members of the Naglfar crew then board the ship and are readying to depart. As they all get on the ship, readying to go, there's one last straggler behind. Jill Presto's unborn child, Icon. Icon starts crawling up the stairs to the ship. He says aloud, "Mother, please." Jill looks down at her supposed child, her child from the Bassanos tarot cards raping her, and she wonders what to do. Lucifer tells Jill, "It's your choice. I swore not to harm him. I said nothing about running a rescue service." So Jill decides she will leave her Bassanos child behind. She kicks the ladder away and bids her child goodbye. Soon afterwards, the Naglfar ship, along with Lucifer aboard, takes off and begins to depart. The mansions of silence then begin to crumble behind them, eventually getting destroyed and just turning into pure white. Spira, witnessing this, says, "It's gone. It's all just gone. How could that happen?" Eventually, Jill Presto and Gaudium, they untie Bergelmir from the mast of the ship. Bergelmir asks, "Lucifer, what have you done?" Lucifer explains, "What I had to do. The Mansions of Silence were a fragile structure. They were never meant to support my presence." Bergelmir asks, "But the beings that dwelled there were untold billions of them." Lucifer says, "Gone." Bergelmir adds, "Monstrous! Your father will not let you walk away from this." Lucifer replies, "You think not? We'll see." Up in the Silver City in heaven, with the door open, the angels let Michael go inside and talk with his father. Michael, he went inside the room, and then he eventually left it. The other angels that were patiently waiting outside ask, "Is your business here done now?" Michael responds, "What? Oh yes, of course it is. As is your own. God has departed this place forever." So, Michael gives the news that God has left the universe and closed the hole behind himself. And they are all alone now. God has abandoned his creation. Lucifer, issue 41, Sisters of Mercy. Lucifer and the crew of the Naglfar crash land in Lucifer's cosmos. Once the boat comes to a stop, Lucifer tells Bergelmir, "Our business with each other seems to be concluded. The Naglfar is yours again. Thanks for the loan." Bergelmir responds, "You've done a terrible thing, Morningstar. I still believe that you'll be brought to pay for it, one way or another." Lucifer to this says, "Well, belief is meant to be a great consolation. Take it with you when you go." Lucifer then releases Elaine Belloc and Mona Doyle from the jar they were in, and their spirits fly around. Elaine thanks Lucifer for saving them. Lucifer says, "I owed you a life. I dislike having that hanging over me. You have a number of options, Elaine. I can give you back the body that you had, or you can be born into a new one and start again with no memory of all of this." Elaine thinks on it. She asks, "How long have I been dead?" Lucifer says, "A little more than a month." Elaine thinks it over for a while. Then she has some follow-up questions. She says, "Aren't people gonna start asking questions if I come back to life?" Lucifer says, "Memory is more malleable than you think, but if that bothers you, then begin again. It's all one to me." Elaine, she doesn't love that idea. She says, "But then I wouldn't remember being me. Could we maybe go back home for just a little while, like a day?" Lucifer responds, "Like a trial period?" Elaine says, "Just to remind us what it was like. It feels a lot longer than a month that I've been gone." Mona begs, "Oh, please, please, that'd be so great." Lucifer, annoyed, says, "This is beginning to irritate me. Ugh, use the gate over there. You have 3 hours. The borrowed flesh I'm giving you will last until that time is up. And if you're late, I won't come looking for you a second time." So Elaine and Mona walk through the gateway there and return back to their world, to their hometown, and they have their human flesh back. Elaine and Mona walk around. They have 3 hours to explore here and decide if they want to stay in their old bodies. As they walk around their old town, they come across a music store. Mona, she just wants to use her 3 hours and stay here and listen to some music. But Elaine decides she's gonna go back to her old school and home and see what it's like. When Elaine goes back to her old school, she sees one of her old friends. Her friend talks with her. Elaine sprouts her wings, and she thanks her old friend and hugs him, and then she flies away. Meanwhile, Mona is still in the record store, and she steals some CDs. She wants Elaine to hear them later. But Mona gets caught before she leaves the store, and then she gets apprehended. Meanwhile, Elaine, she returns back to her home, and she sees her dad in the kitchen. Only it's not her real dad, Matthew Belloc, it's actually Cestus, trapped in Matthew's form. Elaine, talking to Cestus, says, "I was hoping to see Barbara." Cestus responds, "Your mother is at work." "I'm not him, you know." Elaine says, "I know, Cestus." Cestus replies, "I stole his shape to kill you, but Now, Elaine interjects, now you can't get out. And you can't even hate me because it's his mind you're trying to hate me with. Cestus bows her head in defeat and annoyance. Elaine continues, I think it will stop hurting soon, when there's less of you and more of him. Elaine then grabs a notepad and starts writing something. She tells Cestus, I'm writing Barbara a note. Can you tell her that it's here? Cestus to this says, I love you, Elaine. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I hurt you. Elaine leaves Cestus, or her dad, sort of, I guess, and she replies, it doesn't matter. It probably would have worked out the same in the end. We jump back over to Mona Doyle in the music store. She is in the back room with the security guy. The security guy is telling Mona that she's got to either call her parents or her principal to come and get her. Mona is starting to get a little nervous because the 3 hours are almost up. She's got to make her way back to Lucifer's gateway. And the security guy is not letting her leave unless she calls the principal or her parents, and she's not gonna do that. So Mona comes up with a humorous solution. This is just a borrowed body after all, so she jumps out to the window to her death, and then her spirit flies away and meets Elaine by the gateway. Elaine asks Mona, what happened to your body? Mona answers, it doesn't matter. It didn't even hurt this time around. The two of them then enter back into Lucifer's cosmos. And then Lucifer questions them on the other side. So, you've decided? Elaine responds, yes, it's not gonna work. Either way. So many people have been hurt. If I go back home, it'll just happen again, but I got an idea. Elaine asks if she can be some kind of guardian here for Lucifer's cosmos. Lucifer asks, and what would you guard? Elaine replies, everything. Lucifer says the problem with this is he told the people here that in this world they're forbidden to worship. Elaine says, I don't want to be worshipped. I just sort of be up there, watching. Oh yeah, and Mona would get to guard something too. Mona, excited, says, I would? Hey, that'd be cool. Elaine asks her friend, what do you think you'd go for? Mona answers, oh god, I don't know, maybe pop music or chocolate? Lucifer thinks on it and replies, I thought I was beyond being surprised, but no, that's the most grotesque and ridiculous suggestion I've ever heard. And yet, perhaps, that's one of its strengths. If you're going to have gods, well, you might as well have farcical gods that command no respect, that bring the very concept into disrepute. Elaine asks Mona, well, what does she want to guard then? Mona thinks, wait, I didn't think, How about, hedgehogs? They're small and they get run over a lot. Someone should look out for them. Lucifer accepts their stupid idea, and he makes them the spirits of this world, though none will name or bless them, even in their thoughts. He says, Mona Doyle, I set you over hedgehogs, and Elaine Belloc, I set you over everything except hedgehogs. Keep the noise down to a reasonable level, and in case you should be tempted to look over my shoulder, don't. And with that, Elaine Belloc and Mona Doyle accepted their new position in Lucifer's world. Mona Doyle, the goddess of hedgehogs, and Elaine Belloc, the goddess of everything but hedgehogs. And with this, we end Lucifer, Volume 6. Alright, so that was Lucifer Volume 6. I thought the Naglfar story arc was very fun. We had some compelling stuff going on with Lucifer and Michael, teaming up, going on a little adventure, visiting Scoria's machine, hearing the thoughts of God, and learning what God's whole deal is, and they do not like what they learned, and it causes Michael to go a little nuts after. He goes up to heaven, wants to have words with God, but God has abandoned heaven. So a very exciting status quo shift there. Then we had the whole Naglfar side of the story, which was fun to have Lucifer not involved in that much, and just have all of these side characters being forced to team up and go on this wild, crazy adventure. And it was a very fun time. Now, I will say there are parts of the storyline I didn't love. I felt it was a little convoluted, the deal with these angelic dead creatures and what their motivations were, and them attacking the ships, and then these whole mirrors with these alternate reality versions of people. It was a little bit much, but whatever. In the end, it was satisfactory, and it was kind of cool how Lucifer decides the gods abandoned heaven, so why not go to the mansions of the silence and let it be destroyed? And he manages to kick Tsukiyomi's ass out and sort of destroy the mansions of the silence and leave with everyone. So, very compelling, lots of fighting and lots of stakes going on. So, cool stuff. Then we had the sort of comedy one-shot issue, Sisters of Mercy, with Elaine and Mona, and it was fun having them be put in their bodies again and having one day to see if they want to go back to their old life. And there's some humor there and some interesting stuff explored. But in the end, they decide to stay in Lucifer's cosmos and be given these kind of ceremonial joke positions. And yeah, it was a fun time. So overall, I thought this volume was very enjoyable. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back in 2 weeks with volume 7.